You're the one I'm thinking of. You're the one that I will love.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So if it isn't super obvious, we have been on an absolute tear of creating a bunch of content. And you know, one of my most exciting pieces that I think has just come out recently is the addition of the Late Night Show, which is a podcast going over a lot of creative things / tools that we use, including cameras. It's actually the video I just put up the other day. It's me and Vince. I will make sure to link that right here. I believe it will be. But what I'm super stoked about is that we have a new piece of the channel, which is some more content for everybody to watch. There's another thing that I made in addition to that playlist to kind of make it stand out from the other stuff that we've made, and that's a brand new motion graphic. You guys have maybe seen it. I'll preview it right here. It's basically just like a neon light looking late night show podcast piece that I threw over the standard motion graphic to open up all the videos. And I think that baby looks like fire. Okay, so basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm making a short tutorial video, and it's actually a challenge for myself to see if I can show you how to make that in 15 minutes or less. It has to be less than 30 minutes because my camera will stop recording after 30 minutes. So, okay, let's give it a shot without further ado. So first of all, we're going to start with our NOD grid, kind of like a little wavy background that I like to use, not just for the opening, but also anytime I'm overlaying a photo here on the channel. I don't want it to just be like a black background. I think that looks rather boring. So I kind of keep the dynamic movement to all the images so it doesn't get boring to the eye. So that's the first thing that we use. Make it black and white and let it just kind of flex like this. I mean, it just flexes like normal. Okay, so we had late night. Let's go to text here, the text tool. And let's place a new text. Now, I downloaded this font for this specifically. It's a cursive. I believe it's called a Hastron Free. Yep, that's it. You can see right over here. It's called Hastron Free. I thought it looked really good. It looked like cursive neon lights that mostly stay connected. And I think that's what a lot of them look like in real life. So we made sure we added that. So now that we have late, let's do a separate piece here. So we got that. Back to our text tool. Let's do another one. Misspelling night. Night. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to play with the location of both of these things. Late, night, about like that. I think I made night a little bit bigger. Let's make night a little bit bigger. Click night, hit S for scale. Go up to as big or as little as you want. That's what she said. And then we'll move it again. Kind of just lighten it up like that. Okay, now we have our background. We have our text. You have your late night. In the actual finalized version of it, you guys can see I have a little podcast logo over it. Essentially, that's just a podcast PNG that ended up getting me a lot of trouble. So instead of like messing with that right now, we'll just do the late night, and you can apply the exact same effects to a podcast icon if you wanted to do that. So let's go ahead and start adding all the effects. So you got your late night right here. Cool. So now we have both of these. We're going to start adding some glow. You're going to go into effects and presets, click glow. Here it is, the actual effect right here, glow. And we're going to start with late. So you're going to drag it over here to late, and you're going to get that added over here in your actual effects panel. So it looks white right now, even though we have it changed to this color. So if you're going to go into here, you're going to go to color channels. You don't want color channels. You actually want alpha channel. So boom, just like that, it changes to the complete pink. But now it's totally pink, right? We want to make it look like a glow. We want to make it look like a light almost. So let's take this first color again. Click it. Let's go to white. Ooh, we wanted this one. Let's go to white. So now, boom, now the inside's white, kind of like a neon light would look. Cool, so now that we have that, we want to go to our glow threshold here and just kind of play with it. I usually start off with the first glow with a very small radius to look like the glow is just coming off of it. And I definitely put it on top just so it looks a little bit more natural. Okay, let's add your other two glows here. Let's go to late, 1, 2. Okay, now we got all of our glows. Let's work on glow number 2. Let's do the exact same thing. Get the same pink. Same pink. Great. Now we play with the threshold. Make sure you go to the alpha channels again, because that'll fix it a little bit more. Glow threshold, you can make that as low as or as high as you want. And let's change the glow radius. Make it a little bit more because you're showing all the light that's kind of coming off of the word late. Okay, and the glow intensity you can change too. I usually like to keep it all at like just under 1, so it doesn't look too overly saturated. Okay, and the same thing with glow 3. Let's hide glow 2. All right, and then we're going to do the same colors. This and this. All right, let's play with the glow radius to make it look like your final one. Glow threshold, and now you look like a glowing light, which is pretty sweet. And identically to the word night, except we want to change that color. In the actual final version, I have it blue. So let's do that. Let's add all 3 of your glows to the word night over here on your left panel. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we're going to do the main color to be blue. We want it to be on top. Okay, let's go to this. Oh, wrong one. Let's go to this one right here, and let's change it to kind of like a neon blue. Let's do that. And then we're going to do neon blue for the rest of these. There's that one. Great. And now make sure that on every single one of these you're doing alpha channels, because that will actually be the color that you're looking for instead of color channels. Great. Now we have all the glows. Now we want to spread it out kind of like we did with late to make it look a little bit more natural. So let's go to the first glow up here. Make the glow radius a little bit smaller. Well, not 0. Kind of like that. Glow threshold, you can change that as much as you want. Let's make this under 7, and we got that on top. Okay, we want this one on top as well. Glow radius, we want a little bit brighter here. Maybe glow intensity go down to 7 or 0.8. Great, we're looking a little bit more like a light. And the last one here, it's on alpha channel. We're good there. Let's make the glow radius a little bit brighter, just so it kind of looks like all this bleeding light. Let's make it pretty bright here. Okay, now you have 2 glowing letters. Cool, so now we got that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, and we're running a little on time. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make these things flicker. As you see at the very beginning of the intro there, I make it look like it's a flickering light, almost like you'd see on a street. The great thing about this is it's actually incredibly easy to do. So let's go to night first. Let's go to T for T for transform, but here it's opacity. We're going to actually click on the stopwatch, but you want to Alt if you're on Windows, and you want to Command if you're on Mac. Click that light, and you see you have this little drop box here to enter a code. So if we do the wiggle tool, make it 10, 20, then you know how much you want it to be opaque, or how much or how little you want it to be opaque, and how often it's going to be opaque at the same time. So now that we have that, let's click out of there. And if we go across here and I drag it across the timeline, you'll see now, because of the wiggle and the opacity, it's actually changing it radically. I mean, it's random at the same time. So like, it doesn't look like a natural repeating pattern. That would be a little bit too unnatural, right? So here it's flickering like a natural light would, just like we have in the actual final product. Let's do the exact same thing with the word late. T, transform / opacity. I don't know why they did that. Same thing, Alt or Command on the stopwatch, wiggle, parentheses, 10, 20 for your ranges. Great. Now we have that. Now if we drag it across here, you see both of them are flickering randomly, a little bit more naturally, not in some sort of hardcore pattern. Great, we got that. Okay, now you need all your movement, which is really fun and actually takes a little bit more time than a lot of people think. Let's take the word late first. So I had both of them kind of coming in from the left and the right side. So let's go to late first. Let's hit P for position. We're going to drag it all the way over here first, okay? Click that position, and then when you get over to about, let's give it about 2 seconds to get to its final destination. We're going to move it back over here. Now that you click that stopwatch, there's a time frame here of where it's moving. And as you can see, if I drag the timeline, it's now moving across this pattern. Let's do the same thing to light. P for position. Click the stopwatch, drag it to the right, and that's your first position. Let's give it another 2 seconds, drag it all the way back to the left, and now you're back in your original spot. Okay, great. Let's drag that to kind of where it overlaps. Let's put it about right there. So now you have both of these moving letters, just like this. Moving words, I should say, just like this. But we want that to look a little bit more natural. Right now it's pretty boxy, and it's going hardcore from one end of the screen to the other. We don't want to do that. Let's adjust the speed levels on this. Let's start with the word late. So there's this little box right here. It looks like a little graph. Okay, if you click this graph on the word late right here, you have this little speed map, and as you can see, it's very boxed off, right? Because we are immediately moving from one spot to another. Let's make that a little bit more natural. Let's drag this anchor point down here, and the one to the right down a little bit more. And that way you can kind of adjust the speed of it. But I like to make it look like it's slow at the beginning, it's fast in the middle, and then it's slow at the end. So how you do that? You have this kind of like mound right here looking like speed. Let's take this little pin that you see. Let's drag it to the middle. Let's take the pin on the other side and drag it to the middle as well. Now look, it starts off slow, peaks right here on its speed, and then it slows down again. So that looks a little bit more natural. Let's look at that completely rendered. Boom, just like that. Looks way more natural to the eye as opposed to jerking from one end of the screen to the other. Okay, now that we have that, let's go to the word night. Do the exact same thing. Hit position, click that, click your graph, which we are already in, Let's drag the same 2 points down. It's like this. And same deal. Bring the pins in to meet just about in the middle. And just like the word late, starts off slow, goes quickly, and comes to the middle. Now let's see what it looks like when both of them are together. Let's hit space. Boom, boom. Looks a lot more natural. The cool thing about this, let's get out of the graph. You can see these points. Now they turn into arrows because you've adjusted the speed of the actual motion. If we go to late, the same thing, position here. You got both of your arrows here, adjusting the speed. If you kind of hold and drag this box around, you can actually move this to wherever you want. Let's make it a little bit closer in motion so they're not too far away from moving at the same time. You got that. If we want to make it almost the exact same time, I can drag them on top of each other like this, and they'll move simultaneously. There you got that. Cool. The last thing that we did, we had the camera coming in from the top, right? So it looked like the words late night were kind of moving back. You can add a camera in After Effects and actually adjust the motion of that almost identically to the words late night like we just did. So if we go to layer, new, let's hit camera. Custom, it's totally fine. I usually go with the default settings here. Click OK. Cool, so we got this camera, but the thing about cameras is you need to make everything 3D. So I don't want to necessarily make the background 3D, but I want to make our pieces here 3D. Let's make it 3D. You look at this little box, it looks like a cube right here. Click night and click late in the exact same things, and now they're three-dimensional tools. There's three-dimensional pieces to your map here. Okay, so now that we got that, let's adjust this camera. Let's hit P for position to see where we want to go. Now this is your Z axis over here, so I can zoom in as much as I want with the camera, and look at that. It's going to move all the way in on these words here. Okay, now we got them completely out of view. Let's hit the position tool here, the stopwatch. Now, let's give it 2 or 3 seconds. Let's drag it all the way back to where it was. Let's put it about, when we get both of the words here, let's put it about right there just for video's sake. Obviously, the real me would want this a lot more centered than it is right now. But okay, now you got your movement. If we look at the camera movement here, start out strong, and you're moving back just like this. But the way I did it in the actual final render is I had it over the words as the words were moving towards the middle. So let's do that. Let's take your pieces here, your motion pieces, and drag them over to where the words are moving. So now your movement is at the same time that the words are moving. And now they're not coming in as quickly, right? But they're moving in like this, and now the words are also going backwards. Cool. Got the movement. But now we want to make it look a little bit more natural like we did with the words. So let's do exactly that. Let's go to position. Just like we did with the words, let's click your graph here, and then you have the same boxy looking thing. Let's make it a mountain. Drag it there. Drag it here to the bottom. Take your pins. Move it a little bit towards the middle to make it slow, and then fast, which looks a lot more natural. Great. Now let's drag this and watch what happens. It might take a minute to render, and it will definitely go at not real time because the computer cannot hack completely real time. But as you can see, boom, just like that. The words came together, camera's moving back real slow, and then you're done. Just like that. Okay, so let's get everything back here. Close all these little tools because I'm a psychopath. Let's get out of your graph. Go to position for the camera. Now you have this spot. Let's say I want it to go completely out of the frame and I want the words to still be moving before I render my final product. Let's get this all the way over here. So the camera's still moving by the time the end of the graph hits. When you drag this bar all the way down here, it stops your render at what we have right now is 4 seconds. So if we play that and see what happens, boom, it restarts right when the bar hits. Now we have this moving pretty quickly. If you want to make this a lot more slow, just take your endpoint of any location that you put into your tools and drag it out to the side. So if I do that right now, let's drag the camera way out here. It's going to move a lot more slowly. All right, now that we have the final render and it actually rendered through, you can watch it at full speed. Look how beautiful that is. And there you go. You have a motion graphic for an intro. Super simple and done in 15 minutes. And it looks really good. I mean, that actually looks like glowing lights, especially with the flicker and everything. And like I said, with the actual final product, I put a podcast icon in there. You can add that if you'd like and do the exact same process to that piece too and make it glow as much or as little as you want, and then move it as much as or as little as you want. I would have appreciated a tutorial like this when I was learning After Effects, simply because I wanted things to look a little bit more natural. And right now, this is in 60 frames. When I render this final product, it'll be in 24 because 24 is the only one that makes sense. But there you go. You guys have a great motion graphic that you can add to a beginning of the video, and it doesn't have to be the words late or night. You don't have to make it flicker as if it was lights. You can do kind of like what I did in the motion graphic, that we usually had. It's just a very simple piece that comes in and out. And what's really important is those speed tools with that graph. So don't forget that. But either way, guys, I just figured that this would be a fun one. I had a few questions on how I made that motion graphic and how I made it look like a flickering light bulb. And I just figured that it would possibly help anybody who's trying to create a cool little motion graphic for their channel. But hey, guys, thanks so much for checking back in. This is a fun one to do. I love doing little tutorials and adding that to the playlist. But as always, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will be catching you guys in the next one. See ya.